Hello and welcome to the One People Show.
Hello and welcome everyone to this week's One People Roundtable with myself and Dee over there in Malta, Gozo. We have got so much to talk about today that we could honestly, I think, have this conversation for like 4 hours without even taking a breath, but we will do our best to condense it into 2 and we'll probably miss some shit. So yeah, there's
so much going on. Oh my God, there's so much going on.
It's a crazy week. So just to throw it out there, because she's just obviously everywhere right now.
We have to talk about it.
Hillary.
Oh my God. We have to talk about it.
How many are there of her, for one? I reckon they've got doubles and all.
There's at least 2. And I got one of the pictures that someone was so awesome to pull up and put in the Unfuckers room. It's like snafu, that one. Hillbot the glitching clone. Exactly. Yeah, that was some interesting shit.
So, did you see the video where she's barfing up this green slimy stuff into the glass? Did you see that one? That was like kind of...
I went and looked for it. But it looks like she's spitting green olives into a glass.
But then they go all gooey.
Then they just dissolve. But when they plop into the glass, it looks like olives.
Oops. There we go.
Now, here's the interesting thing about someone just said maybe one of her died. There's a Twitter. There was a tweet that went out by someone who's caught a little, like 8-second segment of Fox News saying something about Hillary Clinton's death.
Really?
It went out on Sunday, live, and then shoo.
Is that like, oh, Building 7's gone? Oh, is that one of those moments?
I don't know. I will drop the link. Someone please remind me. I will drop the link of that Twitter. And it's got the little videos. It's actually embedded in it, Fox News, and it's obviously someone's taking them out. Fuck off, mosquitoes. Recorded it with a camera off the television, so the sound isn't very good, but if you turn up the volume and listen carefully, you can hear them say something about Hillary Clinton's death. Awesome. Thank you, Blair. Blair's got the link right up here. Okay. I'm not even going to pull it up because you'll never be able to hear it through the Zoom link. Like, there's just no way. It's like that quiet. You've really got to listen carefully. But yeah. So, oopsie. Oh, we said it the wrong way. Oh, someone hit the wrong, what is it, cue card? The teleprompter had the wrong, but that's next Sunday's show, you idiot, you know.
I mean, she can't seem to walk. It's been announced she's got pneumonia. It's been announced that, what was the other thing? Pneumonia and there was 2 different doctors saying 2 different things. And then she's supposedly, after almost collapsing, she's walking around 20 minutes later.
Then on
Sunday, everybody.
Yeah, dehydration, and it was a little hot, you know. It was a little hot. And she was dehydrated, kind of like Janet Yellen when she passed out in the middle of a major speech on international television, and it was like, oh, it's just dehydration. So apparently all these politician guys just need to drink more.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, they all just keep falling with this terrible dehydration. Oh, it'll be the new thing. The new Zika, Ebola will be dehydration.
But there was also a story that the DNC is looking at replacing her.
I chased it. I could not come to anything concrete other than just rumors. There's also rumors that someone else has died. that was supposed to testify against Hillary. There was a big house fire in Washington, D.C. on Saturday or Sunday, and apparently someone said that the person who lived in the apartment was supposed to testify against Hillary. But again, no names were released. So you can't
verify any of that. Okay.
There's not even a way to verify it yet. So it's hysterical. And Blair, who's going to join us later on in the show, he put together a really great article on Steam It today and a video that goes with it. I will post that in here with the video of this show, talking about his kind of research into what her symptoms are from. Because, of course, Parkinson's has been thrown around. And I don't know, maybe I should just leave it for you guys to watch, but yeah, not what you think it is. And Blair's argument's pretty fucking compelling. He throws a lot of the evidence out there about, even to the one picture where she had the thing on her tongue, like a lesion on her tongue. It all comes back to this. And, with who her husband is, it really is not that far a stretch. Yeah, exactly, Lotus. Okay, fine. Lotus posted syphilis. She has third stage syphilis.
Now, okay, I'm not going to argue that by any means, but certainly the woman who wrote Transformation of America, I can't think of her name right now, but somebody will, wrote quite a lot about Hillary and her sexual exploits in there. So if that's to be taken as true, then it's entirely possible. But syphilis is treatable and I believe even curable in its early stages, is it not?
Not brain syphilis. Certain types of syphilis are not. If you have how would you define that? STD-esque syphilis. Before it goes to the brain type thing, once it's past the brain barrier, it's. I don't think.
Somebody in her position who can have the best healthcare, that's available, and probably a lot that isn't available to the rest of the folks, would be onto something like that reasonably early. That's my only about all of that.
Listen, there's so many fucking angles to this. We have, of course, the clone rumors, the clone is falling apart, to the robot rumors that the robot's falling apart, to she's dying, that she's literally imploding, to, name it. What I found interesting was, do you know who ended up getting involved in this bizarre sideways way? Do you remember the asshole who was the CEO of the pharmaceutical company who raised the price of the AIDS medicine by 4,000%?
Yeah.
Okay, he apparently, he got fired, so apparently now he's a homeless bum who stands around outside of Chelsea Clinton's supposed apartment where Hillary supposedly was taken, waiting for Hillary to come out. Just for 2 hours, live streaming, nothing but looking at the door, and apparently giving interviews to other to journalists. So you have ex-CEOs are now giving political journalism, and he's calling across to her going, Hillary, and
to do what? What for?
Well, apparently he called it out that she had Parkinson's, and then of course that was like, oh no, it's not true. And then he made some kind of bizarre apology, but I'm like, okay. A former CEO of a major pharmaceutical company who got fired, and the media's kind of make it, the alternative media's kind of make it like, oh, he's just looking for the limelight. He just wants the limelight. He'll do anything to get back there. And I'm like, yeah, but you know what? We all know how they like to reuse actors. So he's got a name. He's got a face everyone's going to recognize. Everyone already hates his guts. So you have him stand out to Hillary Clinton collapses. Oh, poor Hillary. And then he stands outside Chelsea's rental, right, because I'm sure she rents apartments, and videotapes what is obviously the double, because it's not Hillary, coming out and then jeering her on and asking really stupid questions. Wait a second. I smell political fucking bullshit here. Like, it's just too, like, I mean, what the fuck is he doing there? Why? There's no logical reason, but there's a political thing. And if they're about to get rid of her.
Well, that's the thing. Like, if Yellow Book and Looking Glass and all of these and technologies are actually what we're presented as, and if she saw herself as president, supposedly in 2012, and she's been promised the gig, and she was
promised the gig in 2008,
especially, and that would have been reconfirmed in 2012. She would have been asked to step back, but promised it, like concrete, 2016. But they ran her out of the way because they want someone else in there. Then she's not going to step aside again. She's not going to do it of her own accord. They've got to take her out. So giving her syphilis is
inject her with brain syphilis that jumps to like last stage brain syphilis in like a matter of 4 months.
Yeah.
Nothing. It's not beyond the realms of possibility. It is certainly not. But then there is also the energetic, which is of course a big discussion that we've been having in the UU room of like, everything is being made transparent and we're watching these people. Idiot, gross demon man, what's his name? Rothschild. David Rothschild or Rockefeller, who just had the 7th heart transplant?
Oh, that's a Rockefeller, isn't it?
I'm like, is it the Rockefeller? Even someone else's heart refuses to live in him. Right? Okay? 7 heart transplants in a matter of like 15 years. It's David Rockefeller. Not only that, he's had kidney transplants. He's had like, okay, scary shit. We're looking at things like Bill Clinton looks like a zombie. Hillary Clinton looking more and more like, I'm sorry, everyone ran with the meme of the Weekend at Hillary's from Weekend at Bernie's. I mean, I've seen so many of those homemade ones go by. And I've been
walking for sure.
Exactly. You're looking at these one. They all look like they're literally, actually, there's a picture of Queen Elizabeth just recently that I was just like, ooh, that's scary. What, did they have to take her out of the freezer for this photo op? Because she looked like she was dead, like evil and dead, shriveled up and evil and dead, which, I mean, she is. But you look at the transparency, and is there a frequency thing that they just can't, so they're just falling to pieces now, these guys?
Well, as we were talking about last week, it's not just them that are glitching out, right? It's
no,
the regular folks as well. And I've been having my own moments, and there was the other day, like thinking, completely forgetting words for one. I could not, for the life of me, come up with the word compromise. I was writing a post on Facebook, and I wanted to write the word compromise. I knew the word I wanted to write. I knew it started with a C. And do you think I could think of it? I thought of everything else that means that. I had to go and look it up. I had to find another word that meant the same thing and look it up on Google to get the synonyms. And go, oh, that's the word I was looking for. That forgetting where you are, forgetting where you've left your car, forgetting these little things, and it's either early stages of dementia, like really early.
We had a conversation early this morning. Was it this morning? I went in and I was posting them in the Unfuckers room, and I had typed in the word I was trying to type was door. D-O-O-R. Door.
Oh, door.
D-O-O-R. Door. Like open the door. I typed it, and I'm looking at the screen, and it came up rude. R-O-O-D. I was like, backspace. Typed it again, it came up rude. I was like, what the fuck? So the next time I typed it, I actually looked at the letters, and I swear to God, Lisa, I typed D-O-O-R, and I looked at the screen, and it said rude. And I was just like, what the fuck? Seriously? And we were talking about it, and we were joking about it, saying, how many of us have gone? I said, like, I'm dyslexic. I have certain typing dyslexia. So if you ever, I said, everyone on Fuckers has got to know, if I type ing at the end of a word, so like sing is going to be SINGIGN. I always reverse the G in the end when I'm typing fast. Like recently, I'm typing words and I'm thinking house and I'm typing chair. And the word house is here and I'm typing the word chair or shoe. And you're just like, okay, seriously? Where the fuck did that come from?
I think we're all having these moments. We're all having these moments where, like, just mind blanks, forgetfulness, not feeling like we're in Kansas anymore, and we talked last week about that family in Australia who apparently all wigged out, like majorly. And this leads into some of the other things we want to talk about all the theories that have been coming out. Now, this is a hologram or an artificial reality. I never heard this talked about even 2 years ago. This was not part of the conversation. But now we've even got America making announcements to its customers, right? Banks are making...
I got it.
What?
Bank of America? I forgot to fucking pull it up, and I'm pissed at myself right now. I'm going to find the screenshot. That graphic that they made, Bank of America tells their customers that there's a 20 to 50% chance that we're already living in a simulated matrix. Bank of America? Like, for what reason would they have to give that kind of a statement? I don't want that.
I mean, even a year ago, this wasn't being talked about, but now we've got a bank, Elon Musk's statement went viral. We've got different scientists coming together to discuss and debate and come together in these little symposium things to discuss the virtual nature of our reality. It's all over the place. Coupled with either trying to explain or trying to take credit for the Mandela effect. And they're coming together, these two things are coming together. But this is all new. This is all new information. That's just...
The last 6 months, it's gone...
Kabooey.
So I want to continue this topic, but anyone, remind me, Elon Musk made another very interesting statement yesterday.
So the UFO...
We'll get back to it.
Rocket.
Oh my God. I was like, are you fucking Nick? Nick was taking a coffee break and he stands out in the middle of the pavement down below on the sidewalk. And you get the Wi-Fi for the building. So he's like having a smoke outside and he's got his tablet out and he literally said, sends me a message, he yells up to our balcony. He yells up, "See zero hedge?" I'm like, no. He goes, Elon Musk just said there's a good chance it was a UFO that took out the Facebook satellite. I was like, you are fucking with me. There's no way. And he was like, well, look.
So you wanted to get back to
which gets into
mention that.
Well, I want to continue. We'll get back to that because I want to throw what if out there. So somebody and you guys there in the chat room, just remind me. Get back to Elon Musk. So one of the big things that came out, and I know that a lot of people in Unfuckers has already watched it. It is a 48-minute video that a guy's put together. So, oh crap, Lisa, what is it again? You keep the Chani Project.
Chani Project. This is
Chani Project.
This was
right.
4chan though.
So, Right. This is 4chan. A few weeks ago, sometime, we talked about, it came up on the show, talking about the Chani project. And the brief synopsis of it was that there was a CERN type particle accelerator in Africa years and years and years and years ago. And they made contact through the computer with another life form, with an alien. Someone.
With an alternate reality, with an alternate Earth.
An alternate Earth, but they were like advanced alternate Earth. And there was conversations that went back and forth. And it was when we got all the information. It was about before the 15th of May, after the 25th of June. But no years were involved. And the guy said that this entity, whatever, this person, talked about things like, because there were so many changes in the timeline that the years were impossible to give. He could only give dates. And the whole information was brought out by a guy who was part of some super secret agency whose job it was to go into these forums, these chat sites, to put the information out there. Because we keep talking about it, they have to give us the information. They have to give us notice. So they just put it out there in little drips and drabs and then test and see how people react. Well, then fast forward to August 21st of this year, 2016, a guy comes into a chat called 4chan claiming that he is a person, scientist, something, from another Earth reality, who is basically, it looks like, in a hive construct mind. They go in for 5 hours a day into the simulated reality, which is our world, and he starts answering some questions. So, and it comes into, again, ties into CERN, it ties into all these things. And again, you have this moment of like, okay, what's the truth? What is the bullshit? And discerning between the pieces of gold, the little nuggets of truth that they're giving you with the piles of bullshit.
So I'm sort of disagreeing a little bit with what you've said in terms of where this guy claims he is and who he claims he is. He claimed to be a clone that didn't have a choice about where he was. Wherever he is, he doesn't have a choice. He was created specifically for this purpose. He sounded very much like just a worker. And
like a drone.
He is employed, essentially, it's his job to recreate our reality. According to him, our reality was destroyed in December 2012. And we've been put somewhere else, and they've tried to recreate the reality so we can do this sort of smooth transition and just continue on our journeys, and we wouldn't notice. Now, but he also claimed to be responsible for the Mandela effect. So there was a question for me that came up, which is like, if you're trying to recreate our reality in order for us not to notice that our reality has been destroyed, why would you actually create these little changes if you didn't want anybody to know?
Why would you put changes?
Yeah.
Number one, that was the big one for me too.
Because he did say we are responsible for the Mandela effect. We have put these changes in. He also said that not everybody is picking up on these changes, which is disturbing. So yes, we were supposed to all just take on this new program. But then why make the changes? It doesn't make any sense. If you wanted us to be just smoothly transition into this other one without noticing any differences, why put changes in? The other implication is
certain changes were physical changes they talked about. Right? So they talk about changes to internal organs. Physiologically, they changed us. Our brain was changed. Some of our organs were changed. Our heart's now bigger. Our liver's bigger. Our rib cage is shaped.
This environment is more toxic than the old one. So
exactly. But then you go, okay, well, wait a second. Are we talking a virtual reality, or are we talking a physical reality? Right? Like, if this reality, this planet, called planet, is more toxic than the other, hence we needed a bigger heart, a bigger liver, etc. That, to me, gives the idea that this is a physical reality. Like, basically, they took us with a transporter beam off of Earth, took us to this other planet, and beamed us down into an exact replica, but it wasn't quite an exact replica. Therefore, you've got landmass changes and continental changes, and they altered our physical. That's the part that goes, there's like a piece in there that just doesn't connect.
But he also said that the reason that there's some of us are not taking on these new programs comes down to one individual. One individual was able to transcend this shifting or this reprogramming, and that there's a reverberating effect, right? But again, it still begs.
Can you see a new savior meme?
Huh?
A new savior meme? They're trying to create a new savior meme? I thought it was the first. It was like,
there is a real Neo.
There's a Neo, and he's out there.
But again, it still brings you back to that initial question. If it's possible, why make those little tweaks and changes in the first place? If it's possible for even one person not to take on that new program, it doesn't make any sense. But, however, there was, to me, truth or a purpose in putting this information out. There were little bits of truth in it, right?
Yeah.
It felt to me like, one, yes, setting up a savior meme, yet another savior meme. It felt like I don't think they've got any control over what's going on. I think this Mandela effect and whatever's causing it, it has got nothing to do with them, and it's completely out of their control. But too many people are noticing it, and the idea that something is happening that's out of their control is not something they're prepared to admit, so they're trying to claim responsibility and control over it. It's trying to imply that there are people or individuals or a system or something that, again, we are... Yeah, but we are nothing but pawns in this thing, and they control it.
Yeah.
But there's nuggets in there. There's nuggets of truth being revealed.
But some of the truth, like I said, is kind of like what they don't want to reveal. Do you know what I mean? Like the whole bit about, like you say, exactly what you've just put it. The whole savior meme, I don't think they really wanted us to catch on to that little piece. And the whole bit with, they're in control. They have the power to do this, you know? I'm pretty sure they thought that we wouldn't catch on to that. There was another point that I wanted to bring up on that one, though. Fuck. Okay, you go on. I'll figure it out. See, memory wiped.
We will put a link to it for those who haven't seen it. But you've got some screenshots. Let's go through some of those screenshots.
Yep, hold on. I will pull up the screenshots. Unfortunately, they're not really quite in order, so you'll have to just kind of bear with me.
It doesn't really matter because it wasn't really in order anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Hold on. I got to go back to the last one. Bear with me, guys. Sorry, I haven't even saved these yet, so they're literally like... is this it? Sorry, guys. I'm just trying to see if I can at least find somewhat at the beginning. Okay, here. This is as good as I can get. So give me a second. I'll screen share this. This is just on my screen share app, so pardon the mess of it. So this is just a couple of the excerpts of what this person said. It says, so not everyone is accepting the updates. For some reason, the veil isn't working on some people. Currently is spiraling out of control, and we anticipate a larger population that will experience memory anomalies within the next few years. By 2020, everything will settle. was like, really? If you're talking about memory anomalies spiraling out of control, and it is going to get larger and larger for the next few years, why are you saying 2020 everything will settle? There are differences in memory because you are not supposed to remember any of it. In fact, you've been implanted with multiple layers of memory that are false. Somehow you have remembered, and this is very concerning. I encourage you to try to hold on to your memories. Now, that's the interesting piece that just keeps coming up, because he keeps saying that over and over, the importance of us to hold on to these memories.
But then why is it concerning that we are remembering them? It's a contradiction.
Exactly. He's concerned, and yet he wants us to hold on to those memories. And it's like, that's kind of interesting. So one of the next ones here. This is a proof of concept. If we can overwrite the population with false memories, unfortunately, the future will be mostly manufactured. There is one person, and we're not sure how, that has somehow caused this unraveling effect. We've been trying to locate him, but he is currently hiding. This person has created the breakdown in the veil, and we are concerned that the whole system will fall unless we stop it in the next few years. This reality is a close copy of what we would call the real Earth. Unfortunately, the Earth was destroyed in 2012. Unfortunately, there was an extinction level event. In order to correct this current version and yet stay similar, we had to give you some updates. These include a larger liver to process the increased toxins, as well as moving some things around the body because you would soon be unable to handle the toxicity of the planet. There are too many updates to the body, I don't even know where to start. So again, that comes back to this question, wait, so they moved us all to a new planet? And just how did they accomplish this move to a whole new planet? You know?
Yeah, I'm not buying that the Earth was destroyed in 2012. That's bullshit.
No, that's complete bullshit too. And that is, see, now there is an interesting piece, because if the Earth is destroyed, then there's nothing to go back to, right? So then therefore you should just give up. You can't go back to the old Earth, so you should just go forward. You know, make yourself at home at this new planet. Get yourself settled in, you know, unpack the boxes. Get yourself all settled in. Don't look back to the old Earth. No, because that's destroyed. It's long gone. It's very interesting. So then he says, we use quantum computer base on our own neural network. Unfortunately, some of that technology was passed down to us to be used for a very specific purpose. Imagine Russian dolls, and you have a pretty good idea of the true nature of our reality. We are manipulating, yet also being manipulated from outside. And that, I thought, was really, really interesting. That was one of those pieces to me that made me go, oh, that's one of those nuggets of truth. So then I guess someone had said something about asking him where he was. He said, I'm sorry, but that is impossible. I'm not even sure where I am from. We're all clones. We work approximately 5 hours per day on the server. Then we get a few hours for socialization. Believe it or not, we are jealous and wish we could be there with you. In other words, another one of those, oh, your life is so much better. You should just accept it. Just accept this reality you're in, because it's so awesome and we're so jealous of you. And your old Earth is destroyed, so you might as well just, you know, jump in with 2 feet, have a good time. Then we've got, okay, so this was interesting. The most common side effects we are dealing with is recurring headaches, shortness of breath, memory loss, and a feeling of just waking up. There are various issues due to the interface changes. The brain had to be rearranged. We increased the size of the base of the brain, reduced the distance of the corpus, and shortened the area of the frontal lobe. So right there, the common side effects we're dealing with: headaches, shortness of breath, memory loss, feeling of just waking up. And we have all talked about these for the last year anyway, but especially the last 6 months. Especially the last 6 months. It's almost every show these type of things come up. Oh, wait, that's the one we already saw. Bear with me. Can I just back to the front? Hold on. Many foretold being saved in 2012. We were saved and now we are here. My employers have a desire to keep us alive and hopefully without any previous memories. Unfortunately, there are many errors to correct. You will see very strange things in about a month from now. That was a big one for me. I went, really? So what are they prepping for? They're prepping for something to happen around mid-September. Something strange, something, what are they preparing for? And then that's an update in your fault. So what someone commented back to the guy, the volume of our cranium has remained almost entirely consistent throughout history. And the guy responded, that is an update for your false memory. As their software betters and more patches and updates are applied, your history will change here and there. Well, again, your history will change here and there. And that's one of the things that we're seeing all over the place, especially in the last 3 months. It's now almost becoming a weekly thing where there's another piece that we discover of changed history, or history that just doesn't line up with what we used to remember. The core of the human is consciousness. Look at Donnie Darko. The solar plexar teleportation of the human body making piloting actions. The alteration of our bodies is beginning to toxify our memories. Release the current information like a DNS flush and regurgitate any information you recollect having. Now, it was interesting because the guy, and like I said, I'll post the video where this all came from with this video. Because the guy talks about what a DNS flush is like. And it's basically, like you can flush your DNS, basically your cache memory. And that way your computer doesn't have that memory of, like, for example, Lisa, your site's being moved right now. If you flush the cache memory, it will no longer be there. Whereas right now it still looks like it's there, even though it's being moved. So he's saying, release the current information like a DNS flush. Regurgitate any information you recollect having. And then the alteration of our bodies is beginning to toxify our memories. That's really interesting. Like the entire 3 sentences in there don't make any sense. They're almost random.
Okay. Have you got many more of those? Yeah,
I think that was the last one. Hold on. I think this is maybe the last one. No, that was the last one. Those were the major ones.
Okay, so going back to what you and I have been talking about on and off for the last, 18 months, maybe, about the reset. It's as if they're trying to do a reset. And the 100-year cycles and the false history and all of that. So what if they're just going to pull off their reset yet again and it's just not working? I don't think that what we're seeing is probably anything that hasn't been done before. But everything else has changed. They are like the things that we keep saying. I keep trying to go back to what we've always thought, which is that they are not the creators. They can't create. They have to take what we create and manipulate and contort and torture it. Right?
Yep.
But there is that, from whether it's outside this reality matrix, whatever, or from within, who knows, but the ability to reset it all. And I think it's been reset time and time and time and time again because we've got all of this physical evidence of previous civilizations all around the world, buried under layers and layers and layers. We've been here for a very long time. We've done all of this before. But it just keeps getting reset and a history keeps getting implanted. I think they're just trying to do what they've always done, but everything else has changed. And it's not working this time. And be fucked if they're going to admit it, right? So
Oh no, they got to come up with excuses. So like your NASA fucking bullshit from NASA, like blah 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 blah. You can't take anything they say seriously anymore. It's just become a joke. Oh, here's see what NASA said this week.
It's like a president in America they've only got 2 terms. They're not allowed to have more than 2 terms, right? So it's like their time is up, and they're trying to get that 3rd term, and it's just not going to work because nothing supports it anymore. Everything else has changed. The energy of this place has changed. We've changed. Frequencies have changed. The fucking universe may have moved. Who knows? But it's all changed. So same old is just not working anymore.
It's not working. Their templates don't work anymore.
None
of their templates work anymore.
This. They're trying to take credit.
Here's my thing.
But it's not them. I don't think it's them.
No. I think, we talk about the big reset. You've talked about the 100-year cycle, etc. I think they just keep moving it up. And I think it's gone from like 100 to maybe 50 to maybe 20 to maybe 10.
Talked about
honestly, I'm beginning to feel
Fibonacci spiral in reverse. It's
like every week now.
Going in this way.
We're now, you may have started with the spiral way out here, so it was like 100 years. But now we're like this part right in the center. And I think they're trying to, like every week, every weekend. Now I want to ask you guys, because we've had so many shows, and of course they're always Monday, Tuesday, where we've come out of it and we've gone, holy fuck, this week was insane. Like, whether it's like that feeling of the earth is going sideways, or just wild dreams, or waking up and being like, what the hell just happened? Every weekend for the last 2 months or so has been something. And every week, it's like you get up and you go, right, let's watch to see what Mandela effects walk out this week. And they come out. So like apparently now, President McKinley in the States was assassinated.
Oh, and Moses.
Apparently there's been 4 presidents. Moses has horns. And it's really, really funny because that actually came up, I guess, a few months ago. It was a few months ago. Someone brought up the Moses with horns, and I was like, what the fuck? We were at the Festa of Santa Maria.
Okay, hang on.
And they have all this.
I need to ask in the chat room. Sorry, sweetie.
Hold on.
Your camera's on.
I'm trying to find it.
Where are we?
Oh, come on. There we go. I got it. If I could just get this to stop being a stooge. There we go. I got it.
Got it.
Someone else popped on for the last.
In the chat room. Has Moses always had horns for you guys? Because never for me. No.
I've never seen.
No.
Sorry. Not until last month. So I'm at the Festa Santa Maria, and there's a big statue of Moses holding the 10 Commandments, and he's got the fucking horns. And I look at Nick. Nick's got a picture of it. I will get Nick to post the picture off his phone into Unfuckers. There was also a big flag with the Illuminati pyramid with the all-seeing eye on it, and St. George the Dragon Slayer with a shield with the pyramid with the all-seeing eye on it. So I got pictures.
I mean, no, there's never been any religious figure apart from, and when I say religious, I mean the Catholic Christian religion, apart from any depiction of Satan that had horns.
Yeah.
And to put them on Moses, no. That is a new one on me for sure. And I don't know what that is.
Exactly. Charlton Heston did not do the movie with horns. Charlton Heston did. Oh, someone go look at the Charlton Heston movie tomorrow and tell me if they put horns on them. I'm just saying. But here's the thing. So now apparently in the States, there have been 4 presidents that have been assassinated. It's not just Lincoln and JFK. Apparently they're the only 2 who anyone talks about for the last, God knows how many decades. But this someone brought up, did anyone else know that President McKinley was assassinated? He was shot to death at some event somewhere. And I put it out there, I said, look, guys, I don't know enough about American history, like presidential history especially, to be able to even comment on this. I've never heard of it before. But there was a pile of people who were all the same thing, saying, no. One guy's like, I went to the University of McKinley University, and no, he was not assassinated, but he is now. So there's another one, change history. Fucking another change. And you're just like, these are, so, you know,
To what end?
To what end? Exactly. If they created, if they're going by the story, playing the what if, that this guy on 4chan was telling the absolute truth, what fucking purpose would it serve to change that? What purpose does it serve to give Moses horns and to assassinate off two more? Yeah, Garfield and McKinley were assassinated. That's what Joseph said. And Joseph, not apparently a whole pile of people are like, no, it did not happen. Sorry, not in their reality.
But they were in Joseph's.
Joseph says they were in his reality. Now the one, where did I see it? Was it in that video or was it in the, was it in that video?
But hang on, in regards to the Moses hand thing, what if that is a little bit of disclosure about what if what we're seeing is the true origins of these religions, who these individuals really are.
Is that transparency?
Yeah.
Like, transparency. Yeah, he's the devil. Never mind. I didn't say that. I've never said this. These things, like literally.
Okay, well, this connects us to some dreams. Okay, so people have been having the most amazing dreams, and this is just in the last 48 hours, is what I'm seeing. A lot of them
the last 48 hours.
Posted in the UU room, and I want to actually share some of them, if that's okay. I'm just going to read them out.
We're not going to give names. We're going to get some of the dreams, though, because there's themes. Do you need the link again? Because I've got the page up.
Yes, please. I'll start with one I do have.
Hold on, give me a second.
I'll start with one I've got here.
Okay, I've also got the dragon post as well.
Okay.
So I've got that. Okay, here it is.
So
I'm going to drop. I'm putting it into the chat room, okay?
Okay.
Right here.
So 3 nights ago, this one happened. She was sleeping on her left side, and a group of people that felt Egyptian, as in ancient history, only it was the 21st century, they existed now, trying to contact others who were interfering with their world, putting obstacles in the way. Communication was blocked. They were working methodically to clear the path forward. Something was in the way. I woke up, rolled onto my right side, and saw a group of people, mainly men, a large building, a conference room full of screens with rolling data. They were in a heated debate over how they were going to fix the door they broke. They were angry, worried, and I felt their fear. These men were not concerned about others. They were afraid for themselves only of being found out. Then I woke up again, turned back onto my left side. The dream picked up where it had left off. Calm, clear, focused on my left side. Nervous, busy, confusing on my right side. This went on for hours back and forth. Each time I was fully awake when I moved from side to side. I was only an observer until they saw me. I felt it take my breath away, as that's when both sides came together, both just as shocked to see each other and turned towards me. One deep, calm voice spoke up and said, "How are they doing that?" I woke up with my heart pounding. I wrote it all down. That's one. Okay, so where's the other? You just put it in which chat?
I dropped it into the here. I'll drop it again because the chat room's moving so fast. You'd have to scroll up 80 comments just to find it.
Okay.
Here in the Zoom chat.
Yeah.
Everyone stop typing for a second.
I've got it. Relax.
You got it. The chat's going like this. I can't even read the chat right now. It's just...
Okay. And we were just saying before we went live that dreams, I'm not having any right now, but the ones that are happening for people are awesome. Okay. Perhaps all the videos and discussions regarding the object in the sky people keep seeing, not Nibiru, not Planet X, most likely not the moon either, kicked my subconscious into overdrive. Just the same, I had the strangest dream last night. I dreamt I looked west out a window, and there were distinctly two identical moons hanging there. I mean, everyone could see it. It wasn't an optical illusion. There were very definitely two moons. So I walked outside to see it better, only to discover that I was surrounded by twin moons. Looking west, two moons. Looking east, two moons. Looking north and south.
Oh, at least we've lost you.
Oh, I can hear you. You can't hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Okay, just go back for, I walked outside. Everything after that, I missed. So,
So I walked outside and there were two moons in every direction. So you look east, two moons, west, two moons, north and south, two moons. Then I heard someone, never saw who it was, explaining that all parallel Earths and their timelines are converging into one, and that for every corner of the Earth, aka directions, as in north, south, east and west, there were two versions of Earth that needed to be condensed into one. It came across like this plane of existence is one big origami that just keeps folding over into itself. So looking east, I was seeing two parallel timelines that needed to come together in order to clarify that corner of Earth. Looking west, there were two more parallel timelines that needed to consolidate, which would then anchor that corner, and so on with north and south. Then once the two sides of each corner were healed, then the four corners themselves would need to resolve themselves into just one. Now, does any of this make sense? Nope. Do I think I have prophetic dreams? I've had two, maybe three in my life, but prophecy is not what I would consider to be my gift. Is my dream possible? These days, anything is possible, and everyone's dreams are probable, so take the dream for what it's worth. And then there's so much. That's one dream from one individual. Here's another one. This is, again, all in the last 48 hours. I had some interesting dreams last night. It was either in Chicago or New York City, and a black orb around 20 metres in diameter flew down from the sky rather quickly, bounced off the earth before flying back up and around the city. I also noticed fighter jets patrolling the city, probably because of this black orb. At the time, my mother appeared to me and I said to her, I told you this was going to happen. One other thing I noticed was that there were two moons. Again, two moons. The other could have possibly been Nibiru, but they were both about the same size, and one was a reddish hue. This piece of hair is driving me nuts. The last significant thing about this dream was that after seeing the black orb, I decided to climb this lookout tower thing to get a better view of it. After climbing to the top, I suddenly found myself sitting in this room, in the middle of the tower amongst a group of people I did not know. Lastly, this scraggly guy entered from the rear of the room with an assault rifle and blood all over the front of his shirt and had clear intentions of hurting us. I took off out of the room with the man chasing me, and that's all I remember. So, again, another I had a strange dream. This is the other third dream. Somebody else again. I had a strange dream that Nibiru was actually planet Earth, and that we were put here on fake Earth while the solar system was transitioning, but we have to figure it out before we are allowed to go back home. I haven't really followed anything about Nibiru, so I don't know why I had this dream. Odd. Okay. Someone else saying, I don't normally have dreams like this, but I've been starting to have these really weird dreams, lots of spacecraft, piloting them, things to do with bubbles and timelines, readjustments. Two dreams, this is yet another person, two dreams in 2 nights. First one was I was told there are now 2 Earths, and I was going to see the next one. Asked if I could go somewhere warm and ended up on a beach, and there was a red planet in the sky. Second dream, the sky was dark and the sun had turned white and was melting. A missile flew across the sky with a fighter jet under it, and then bizarrely a giant colourful Christmas decoration of Santa on his sleigh flew across in the opposite direction. Yet another one, dreams of statues of white people with blood splashed all over them, an electronic AI-driven spider-type machine crawling up and down buildings and replicating everywhere. I mean, this moon, two moons, or timelines converging, alternate realities, us put somewhere else. This is the theme that's been running through a lot of these.
Yeah. And the water theme. That was, again, the tidal waves and the floods. Dreams. Again. So I said, Nick, last night, woke up in the middle of the night, and he was like, we have right behind our flat a very, very cool rock formation. I posted a picture of it on in the Unfuckers room weeks ago. And it's just a rock. It's kind of like one of those ones that just comes up, like in the mesa, and it's like kind of flat on the top, and it's literally right out our bedroom window. And he dreamt that he was desperately trying to climb to the top, and he was trying to get all the family up there. And basically, we were all up there except for one of the kids. And he was trying to get one of the boys to the top, and he all of a sudden looked, the water was coming. It was like a big tidal wave of water, a flood coming. And he says he realized that either A, he wouldn't make it to the top in time, or B, that even when he got to the top, we would be cut off. Like there would be nowhere to go. You'd be there, and that would be it. There was no other place to go. And he says it was really disconcerting. And there was a couple other people who had flood or tidal wave dreams in the last 48 hours as well. And fighting dreams, that was one of the other things. There was quite a few people who had dreams that dealt with like fighting of some nature. And Nick, same thing. And he had another dream that had to deal with people fighting, etc.
There's a couple more. Had a recent dream with a bunch of lights in the sky in various formations, accompanied by some polyphonic sounds, clearly communicating to the people on Earth. After that, there was a big flood with half of the people gone. Those who remained lived in a post-apocalyptic world, surviving with no civilization. The flood also marked a thinning of the veil or merging of dimensions or something like that. Because besides the people who survived, we had black ghost-like figures flying around, feeding on people's energy, fears, and lust. The other theme that's running is this next one. I've had dreams in recent months.
Hold on, Lise.
Yeah.
Nick last night, he tells me this morning, before I read that dream, because that dream was posted sometime this afternoon. He was working out, and he was on our back balcony at nighttime, and he was looking over the big rock that I'm talking about. And he says when he turned to the one way, out of the corner of his eye, he kept seeing twinkly, golden little lights around the edge of the rock.
I'm sorry, hang on. Is that the dream he had, or is this he was actually awake and out on the balcony?
Totally awake.
Yeah.
Totally awake. And Nick sees the shadows, right? But he saw twinkling gold lights, and when you look, nothing's there. So he went back and he was finishing working out, and he looked the other direction, and then he saw out of the other side of his eye, on the other side of the rock, twinkling gold lights. And he says it happened about 4 or 5 times in a row. He could never see them directly on, but as soon as he turned his head, he could see the little twinkling gold lights all the way around this rock. And then I read that post about the dream, about the twinkling gold lights, and I was like, Nick, I don't know that what you saw was necessarily, I don't know.
I've had dreams in recent months of people from my distant past have showed up. I had completely forgotten about these people. I wonder if it's a sign that we're all going to be reunited soon. It's just so bizarre that it's many dreams, not just 1 or 2. And then somebody else, memories coming up, other eras, other timelines, other dimensions or layers. They seem to relate to our now because we are releasing them in present time. They may not even be your memories. Be aware of choices you make. The next dream may build on the choice. You can change a choice in another scenario in another dream, i.e. you've been fighting someone or something, wasting your energy. Intend that the next time this presents itself, you make a different choice. I've stopped getting hijacked into a fight dream and just walked out of it by decision or choice made while awake.
Exactly. Yep.
Someone else. I keep having going back to a house that is mine, but I don't recognise it. The insides of the house keep changing from night to night, but I want to know why I keep going to this same house. It's like I'm stuck in this one dream and I can't figure it out. So, guys, if you've been, for those who are going to watch this archive later and are not in the UU room, if you're watching it on the web, on either of our YouTube channels or websites, leave your dreams. If you've been having dreams like this, please leave.
I want to hear.
Yeah, we want to.
Type them in. So funny about people. I've had multiple dreams in the last couple of weeks where I've had people from my past show up that are like long forgotten. Like when you actually go like, oh, fuck, what are you doing in my dream? You know, like somebody you knew in high school. Someone you worked with like 20 years ago was just someone who was there at the time. And I've had a few of those show up. And yeah, consciously changing it, that thing, what you were just reading about changing your decision about what you made.
Okay, here's another one. Different person again. Had a dream 2 nights ago where I saw 2 identical moons in the sky. Also saw a black shiny orb fly out of the sky and come down and bounce off the earth near a large city. Dream. Oh, no, that's the same one. Sorry, they've repeated it. Okay, sorry about that. But here's another one. Dreams that I looked at the moon, yet again the moon. It was full and there were orange lights moving all over it. And, okay, talking to someone outside and I look up and I see a huge rectangular portal in the sky open up. The things were going in and out of the portal, but I couldn't see what they were, like shadows. No one else could be bothered to look up. And then when I insisted that it was important, these weird dark tube-shaped things the size of a small snake flung themselves at me and attached themselves to my chest and neck.
Oh! Okay. Okay, that leads into the dream I had 2 nights ago. 2 nights ago, I had insane dreams. They were all relatively short pieces. I only remember one of them really clearly. And I'm walking out of a building, a house, something. And I'm like kind of looking down on a step, and there are 2 snakes on the ground. One of them is quite small, maybe not much longer than about 2 foot. The other one is quite a bit bigger. They're coiled on the ground in front of my feet. And I call out, I'm like, Nick, there's freaking snakes here. And I'm not afraid of snakes. I actually love snakes. So I'm like, there's 2 snakes on the ground. And I can picture them because the colors on the snakes are like nothing I've ever seen on a snake. And they were like gray, deep charcoal gray, and deep, deep burgundy. Both of them were identical, just one was much bigger than the other. And so he was like, okay, and he ran off to go get like a stick to get rid of them. And I'm standing there, and as I'm standing there, and I don't know if they're poisonous or not, the little one springs up and attacks me, and it gets me at the back of the neck. And even though I can't see it because it's the back of my neck, I know its mouth is wide open on the back of my spine, and it hasn't put its teeth in, like the teeth are kind of just barely in the skin, and I'm frozen because it's like, holy shit, I'm afraid to move because this thing will really bite me. And a stranger walks up, no one I've ever seen before, a man walks up, and I'm like, there's a snake biting the back of my neck, please help me. And he just reaches out and he like flicks it off, he grabs it off. And this little snake goes flying, but it was surreal because the whole time the one on the ground never moved. It just stayed coiled right out. And the little one, it was on my neck. I could feel the teeth pressing against my skin, and it was odd. It was like it was ready to attack. And it was just bizarre. And I said afterwards, and everyone I spoke to privately about it were all the same thing. Well, it was obviously an attack, like some kind of an energetic attack going on. that didn't work, but it was surreal because, like I said, and it was funny because, like I said, I like snakes. When we had, Bertha in the yard there in Nimbin, I loved her. She was awesome. But these two snakes, I took one look at them and it was like, oh, don't like you at all. No, don't like you at all. And I was actually afraid. It was very interesting.
There's some great comments happening in the chat room. Let's see if we can get through some of them.
They're going so fast. It's like I
Can everyone just stop typing for a second?
just for a second, please, everyone.
There's a grand purging going on, and then assimilation to a different frequency that is more of who we really are. Schliffing off the overlay from the inside out. And so someone dreamt about you last night, Danny.
Really? Who?
Yeah. Wanda. I go to one house in the middle of nowhere with fields of corn all around and go around the side of the house and go down into a hole, into a big cavern, which has a huge table in it and lots of beings that hold meetings there. I had a creepy dream about a month ago. My cousin, who was murdered in 2010, was alive. I was turned on for a few days. I had pneumonia, dark night of the, sorry about that. I had dark night of the soul, vision quest. I was shown many things. One thing is Danny and Lisa are as famous as Ellen. Oh, that's funny. They are the ones to watch, aiding in awakening us.
That's too friggin' funny.
Yeah, I felt like I was the first one out of the game. Even the hospital clock rang, telling me time was running out. Kundalini type dreams, snakes. Yeah, don't tell Lisa that.
Energetic vampires.
Energetic vampires. Anything to me that's going for the back of your neck. That spot in the movie The Matrix where the cord plugs into, it's there for a reason. They put that right there for the very particular reason. What?
In the dream space, even in the dream, you talk about having overlays, so like you're in the dream, but you're also, another part of your consciousness is watching the dream, observing it, and even as soon as it went to the back of my neck, as soon as it pounced, I knew it's going for the back of my fucking neck, little fucker. And it hit me in the back of the neck, and that other part of me that was kind of above, over top, looking down, was just like, you fucker. And I just knew, because you say at the back of the neck, you just,
Yeah. Sounds like someone was trying to attack, and yet I agree that's what that one was.
Isn't that where 7 of 9 in Star Trek Voyager is plugged in? Am I a Borg? Am I a Borg now? If I show up next week with like a big steel eyepiece or something, is everyone going to make fun of me?
4 pillars in the middle will pull out and the pyramid will drop. I'm one corner, Justin Trudeau is another, Putin is the Trump card, and Michael T. Ubuntu is the last 100 human. I know who is in the middle. That has to be kept private. When the corners of the middle pull out, the game drops. I have no idea what that means, and you're probably going to have to elaborate, Deanna.
Justin Trudeau and Putin. Definitely
Did you
not.
There was a funny photo. The Queen, surrounded by all these people, and they're all trying to help. Everyone's,
I didn't know if that
side down here, whatever.
Yeah, I fucking giggled my ass off around that.
Everyone was falling all over themselves to help the Queen, except him.
Yeah. Now the whole thing about the pillars, okay? Lotus, can I have your permission to read out what the big long posts that you put in Unfuckers? Okay, I want to read this because there's some interesting pieces in this, and because the pillars keeps coming up and all this stuff, it's just relevant. So it just tells me I'm going to read this. So it's quite long. Bear with me.
I'm going to turn my camera off for a moment.
Yeah. Hold on. Of course, my messages are going freaking nuts. Okay. Okay, folks, I'm going to share a variety of information okay, hold on. Guys, give me 2 seconds. I need eyeglasses for this. I'll be right back. Give me 2 seconds. I can't read. this much reading requires my glasses. Okay, folks, I'm going to share a variety of information that I've discerned over the course of my travels with you from different sources and then bring them together in a very crazy concept of reality. Here are some facts that you don't know. First, banking is just a really big pipeline data field that no one controls or knows how it works. Just like the internet, it is a hive mind. The way it is accessed through platforms. These platforms are protected by keys, words, letter, number combinations, sometimes thousands of characters long. When they put in a bond, the value of the bond is based on keywords and phrases such as the word court. This is a platform key that allows access to that particular bond platform. This particular word has been easily, oh, come on. Sorry guys, my screen is, I've got messages coming in. I'm like, everyone stop messaging me on Facebook. By the reality, making streets named so on, so court, get it? This is one way to steal wealth, which isn't wealth as we know it. It is units of control over the matrix, let's say. Another way they obfuscate the banking matrix is to use twins with the same initials or close to the same initials. They will steal these twin codes, which are also keys, the birth certificate codes, social security codes, etc., and create bonds on them not necessarily designed specifically with which twin is being bonded to the matrix. As much as these numbers are often only a number or two off, the matrix thinks this is a clerical error and authorizes a mixed key code. I believe these mixed keys are used to map a platform with triangulation. So now you know that the banking system is a godlike infinity mind that no one runs but can access with computers. They have only keys to platforms that assign units of control to people, the places and things. It does not discern the distinction between real living flesh and blood corporeal man and a dead incorporeal corporation as now they have both the same root codes. So a thing can control a platform. Now, each platform is funded by a trust. That is a grants of units of control from some third party. Again, it can be a living thing or a real entity. It is my understanding that there's grants of trust that are thousands of years old, funded by unseen entities. That's right. As far as I've been told, there are banking trust platforms in this infinite God computer matrix that are 10,000 years old, older than we know of organized society, more or less organized banking via some energy pipeline, which requires keys that seem to have lost to most in order to transfer and allocate the units of control over this paradigm. That is the spirituality of banking, as I really don't know any other way to put it, except to say that it seems to be operated, be tied into the same kind of pipeline of knowledge Tesla speaks about in his Ruminations. Now, on to the next collection of knowledge. The earth is supposed to have 4 pillars to heaven. Funny how the number 4 is the dollar sign on the shift keyboard, huh? The Masons speak of them as well as the ark, as in the potentially associated with the archons. You know, the ark they call in Star Trek The Next Generation all the time when they say they're in the holodeck, a fake manufactured reality room. Accessing the ark gives them control over the fake reality that they are in. In one story, Captain Picard is trapped in the holodeck by an evil entity that has become aware of his existence and wants out, thus takes over the ark and kidnaps the real flesh and blood men of the Enterprise in the holodeck until they promise to create him a reality of his own to live in and interact with other living sentient beings. The pillars are also discussed in religious texts about the 3 sovereigns of China, when the second sovereign, a female deity that takes the shape of a female-faced snake, as in the Garden of Eden snake. Her name is Nua, and she is purported to have had to repair the pillars to heaven as a war or fight between the lesser deities, whose creation and existence are not disclosed in this story, as they were damaged and the heavens were left unsteady and potentially falling. The heavens, in my perception and in the correlation, is the firmament. So 4 corners, 4 capstones, 4 structures held up the heavens were connected to the firmament for what one being of light has brought forth, were conduits that transferred food, sustenance, waste, etc. between the heavens and the earth, like an umbilical cord. This man also believes the Devil's Tower and or other mountains that look cut off at the top with these organic cellular structure formations being their total composition, are leftovers of these cut off, damaged umbilical cords. Regardless of that, I believe they also hold or held Earth in as a fixed position in balance, magnetic and electrical properties, as the energy field of Earth and its ley lines, some say the golden ley lines, could be changed if we transmitting a different magnetic field with a different, not natural electrical properties. So let's join all four of these divergent concepts I've discussed together at this point. The four pillars held Earth in a particular natural electricity and magnetic position. They were connected to the firmament heaven and did also transfer things between Earth and heaven, making them one in bioelectric reality. Then some deities came and cut the pillars off and damaged them, which allowed them to disconnect us from the heaven and to move our Earth into a different tilt position on their universal axis, and thus change our bioelectric field that we as light and energy beings live and see. I believe they cut all but one, and that one is the one in the South Pole, or that nether reaches of Earth. And that is why we can't go down there. That is why Earth wobbles on its southern pole base. There's also a time distortion at the South Pole that NASA and various other scientists have proven exists with sensitive gyroscopes, that the Earth sits and wobbles in that very same time distortion, which creates a dimple in the time plane. I also believe that the proverbial they are trying to gain control of it or have control over it through some type of arc, just like in Star Trek. Maybe that is what CERN is, the replacement arc to control the reality that we perceive as being created by this bioelectric existence. This would explain the Mandela effect and or all these apparent changes in our reality. For sure, it also, in my opinion, that this one last umbilicus is also where the banking hack is being affected, with them trying to map the pipeline and or control whatever these pillars did affect for Earth. Earth's generated bioelectrical reality, inclusive of all of us. So now you know where I believe we currently find ourselves. Crazy, but totally plausible in my honest opinion. Still, that isn't the kicker. As I've put in this thread, this clearly criminal organization called GITFA that is purportedly a United Nations chartered organization claiming to own the assets, estate, chattel, and total holding proper of the United States Corporation. Its owner, CEO, BMOC, is Ernest Rothschild, who just so happens to be the one bringing a claim against the U.S. corporation on behalf of the Islamic Republic of the United States of North America, and is currently going on unlawfully handing out instruments with the U.S. corporate seals on them. Oh my goodness, I'm going to need a drink in a second. There's a position.
There's so much in it, it's not funny.
Yeah, this goes on and on, because this now gets into like the whole monetary stuff, et cetera, the King and Philippines and Marcos.
I don't know if you're going to go on with it, but
I was just going to.
Before you do, if you are.
No, I'm not going to read the rest of it. It's just too much. But I will post if Lotus is okay with it. I will post the entire thing.
Yes.
With this, so everyone can read it, because it's going to take a couple of read-throughs.
It is. So the stuff that you started off with in regards to the banking, fortunately or unfortunately, takes me back to many conversations that we had with Heather.
Oh, yes. And that's what I was like, oh, I know this information.
Yeah. Wow. About certain signatures, and when we physical signatures, but as well as energetic signatures of particular biometrics. That one of the reasons apparently that they can't even, do bullshit like the RV is because they can't get hold of the right keys, the right biometric signatures. It's all energetic. It's all run on energetic. There's that. There's also an Australian origine story about trees, right? About the ancient trees and how trees ground the frequency of love. So when that No Forest video came out, that whole conversation came up. There is a very particular frequency that the trees were in fact a conduit between this plane, this reality, and the next. They are or were the connection point, and that they channel essentially and ground certain higher frequencies, and that's why they were cut off.
Yep.
And severed our connection. So there is a correlating story here with an older originating story. What was the other thing that brought up? It's gone.
Hold on, I'm just gonna, I can't get it. The hell with it. Anyways, I'm just gonna show the Norse picture, of course, of the tree.
Tammy?
That ancient picture.
Oh, sorry. Just to answer the question, Tammy, I didn't see it. Are you friends with either myself or Dee or anybody in the UU group? Because they can invite you in as well.
Yeah.
Whoever you're friends with, it's in there.
Yeah.
Okay, again, in the Ringing Cedars series of books, the Anastasia talks about the trees absorbing cosmic energies, then releasing them back to humanity through its parts and oil. She's friends with you.
Send me a message, because I won't remember it this time of night.
Yeah, that tree video came out. Perfect timing. It's giving us a huge piece.
The Avatar.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Avatar was the perfect example of that. I mean, it was the history of the people. It carried all the history, the memories of all the people on the planet of Pandora.
What else did you get out of that piece from Lotus?
Well, there was a bunch of different things. And like I said, I kind of brain fog now on the whole thing because I've read it twice, and each time, because if you know me, the way my brain works, right, it's like there's a whole section that goes into the whole Marco stuff in the Philippines and what's going on there, and M1, and I'm like, oh, I got information on that too, and so it's long and convoluted. But the interesting thing was talking about the biometric signatures, talking about the fact that we are the energy, and this all comes back to so many conversations. Even that video that we've just been talking about with the guy purportedly who started the whole Mandela effect thing, the scientist or clone or whatever he was. We're the value. We've talked about this, the energy. Everyone's been talking about all day today. Then we talk about who discussed this. They talk about, was it Jupiter ascending and the harvesting of the Loish, et cetera, et cetera. Did one dream, what's her name, had, where on the left side she saw like the ancient Egyptian type people, and on the right side she saw the guys sitting in the control rooms with all the screens and all the data. And, you know, immediately my mind jumped to the work that we were doing back in 2013 and seeing the energy. What was the word? Heather assigned them a word. The energy
Regulators.
The regulators, that's right. And I've been there and I've seen so many times of all the nasty, gnarly old men sitting around the table with all the computer screens and all the numbers and everything going all. And I just sat there, I was like, oh, is it so funny how these images, thought forms, I guess, keep coming up. Certain things just keep repeating themselves. And when they repeat, I sit there and go, you can't tell me it's coincidence. When someone who doesn't know anything about different things that we've just discussed in the past has that kind of a dream.
Okay, we've got Blair still standing by to come out and join us. We should do that.
I'm sorry, Blair. I've been so off on everything else.
Anyway, give me a second.
Blair, can you bring yourself?
Can you hear me?
Oh,
yes, we can. There he is.
I'm still here.
Good. He hung in for the long ride. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, Blair, how do you say your last name? Is it Reich or Reich?
Yeah, rhymes with bike.
Reich, okay. So Dr. Blair Reich has got a PhD in chemistry. And we're going to, some serious good conversations we're going to have. And months ago now, Blair and I were talking, and he set up a couple of polls. And he started setting up, and he did this one major poll, an online questionnaire, if you will, about the Mandela effect, the Toto effect, as we're calling it now. Not just asking the simple questions, but Blair set it up in a way that for certain questions, he added secondary parts to it. So for example, the ones that had to do with like medical type questions, he added secondary questions to things like, are you a medical professional? So let's get, he really kind of narrowed it down to give a real perspective on the answers that were being given. And there's been 25,000 people who've responded to this questionnaire now.
Well, the report's about 25,000. It's up to 30,000 now on that one.
Holy
And from all over the world, or from primarily the States, or where are you getting the responses from?
I'd say it's mostly the United States, but it's just about everywhere. I got people on every single continent, lots of different age ranges. It's lots of people describing themselves differently. So it's kind of all over the place in terms of people self-describing their country, their age, and what they're interested in.
Brilliant. So you're still taking, is this survey still open? So when the archive hits, people can still go out there and fill it out?
Oh, yeah. So, so there's 3 quizzes right now. I have one that is sort of the scientific one that covers, there's 2 control questions that are in there, and then there's 7 different Mandela effect questions that are in there. There's another quick one that's like 20 questions that are just the simple Mandela effect ones. It's not really meant to be like a scientific thing. It's just meant to expose people to Mandela and Toto effects. And then the last one I did is the most comprehensive one. It's over 100 questions, and it asks a lot of the common Mandela effect ones. I differentiate between the Mandela effect and the Toto effect. The Mandela effect questions, I'm calling the ones that are just like word changes, things that don't feel tangible or are more easily brushed off. And then the Toto effect ones are the ones that are like geography has changed, human anatomy has changed, history has changed, religion has changed. Like those kinds of much more impactful and meaningful ones.
Like just the pop cultural stuff.
Yeah, the pop cultural stuff, I think it's safe to call those things a Mandela effect. But then as we're trying to go differentiate and have a conversation of like, somebody's life may not be altered if it's mirror, mirror or magic mirror. But, for somebody that's traveled to Asia and realizes like Japan's in a different place now, or somebody that, I used to keep, whenever you say the Pledge of Allegiance or you're singing the anthem, you like put your hand over your heart, and it was always over my left breast. And now my heart seems to have moved about 2 inches to the right relative to what I remember. So for people that are like, oh, my heart is in a different spot now, it's nice to have a term where these things are more meaningful or impactful. And so I've gone the Toto effect for those and Mandela effect ones for the...
I just wanted to ask, one of these changes that doesn't seem to get brought up very often, but it was one that was noticed way back in the early days, so I'm just wondering whether you included it, was the statue of Jesus that stands above Rio.
I've heard about it. I try, not entirely, but I try to pick some ones that I seem to have some recollection of, or something that like I can say, oh, it's not just about meaningful to me, but it's I want to have some basis of comparison, and that was not something that like I've never been to Rio. I didn't study Brazil. Like South America was never like a big part of my upbringing or what the classes that I took in college or high school or something. So I just didn't have.
We do have people who have been there and taken photos of it, 10, 15 years ago. And when it was a enormous bronze or whatever it was statue, and now it's a much smaller, I think, wooden one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like completely different. It's like the Statue of Liberty becoming like a cake decoration. It's just, that's the difference.
Yeah, so that would fall into like Toto effect, right?
Totally.
Yeah, I got.
Yeah, the people who've got that experience, who've been there, they've seen it, they took their holiday there, they got photos, and this thing has changed. That's affected them big time.
So the thing to do with that, like, my quizzes aren't the end all be all. Lots of people can go make them and go put them out there. You know, the one thing is, like, try to find something that nobody thinks has changed. So maybe it is the Statue of Liberty, or maybe it's, you know, the Sears Tower or something that we're all pretty confident what the height has always been, that like a lot of people would recognize, maybe not everybody, but especially like architects or something. And so then you have a control that you can compare against and say, all right, well, how good are the memories of all these architects that remember it being X many feet tall? And then let's go compare that against all these people that remember the Rio thing being a different height. I mean, I think one of the problems with the Mandela effect initially was that nobody bothered to go run any controls, or so, like, you know, in some cases people's memory are good and in other cases are bad. And just overall, you can attribute a lot of, like, in the general population, you can say, hey, yeah, this is just a memory thing. But then when you start looking at people that are extremely confident, they get answers right between like 95 and 99% of the time. And so the memory effect thing seems to go away. So having some control so that you know what is meaningful and putting in some of these confidence levels, is the people that are guessing seem to be getting it wrong quite frequently. But the people that tell you, look, I have this distinct memory about this. I traveled there. I saw the height of that thing. Or, you know, I put my ear on my kid's heart and I know where I put my ear on my kid to go hear it. Or, you know, I traveled to Asia and I know where Japan was. So, like, people that have these really distinct memories. There were some people that had photographic memories that say, like, I can still see Berenstain Bears in my hands. I know that's what it was. So finding people with those distinct memories about it, and comparing the people with distinct memories now versus what they used to be, I think that's when you start being able to differentiate as, is this just some memory thing, or is this actually things have changed around us and our whole concept of what is reality has to sort of shift with that.
Well, that's why I really liked your report, because you're a researcher and you've actually, the poll has been set up like a research paper. It takes into consideration a lot of different variables and collects a lot of information about how confident are you of this. Well, what, you know, things like how many manned missions to the moon did NASA land on the moon? And then you ask the questions of, like, are you in the industry? Are you, you know, an amateur astronomer? Are you, like, heavily, and then you end up with a broad spectrum subclass there. These are people who study this. It was the same thing when the one question you did was on, of course, the universal blood type. And you asked the question in this paper, are you a medical professional?
Yeah, I had more than 200 of them. 200 medical professionals answered that. So, you know, when I looked at that data, it was 10% said AB, and then it was split something like 60-40 between O- and O+. And
exactly. And that was like, because this is medical professionals. This isn't just, you know, Tom, Dick, and Harry down on the street. Flunked biology.
Yeah, these are like extremely confident people too. So they say, it's not like, oh, I'm not in that field and I don't remember it. They were like marking down, I'm extremely confident about this. And again, it was like 10%, 10% AB, and then the other two were something like, it's the remaining 90%, but it was split, you know, 60-40 between them, which is not what you'd expect. You'd expect, like, the best test takers in the world, the people that are able to become medical professionals, sort of like the highest white collar job that we as a society sort of have. You would think that they'd be able to get a really simple question like, what's the universal blood donor type correct? And yet, you know, it was something like less than, I think it was less than 40% total got it right. And they're the doctors. They're the nurses.
They're the doctors. They're the ambulance drivers. They're the medics. They're the, oh yeah. And this is where I keep, whenever I have the debates, when people say, well, it's just people not remembering correctly. That's the one that goes back to me, because that was my moment. We had been discussing the Mandela effect for a couple of months, on and off, talking about Berenstain Bears and Sex and the City and Luke, I Am Your Father, et cetera, et cetera. For me, it was that was the one that I discovered. And I went, holy shit, because I know in my reality, the universal blood type was O positive because I'm O positive. And when I was working as a medic in Thailand, I was used as an emergency donor twice in a straight line transfusion in emergency situations because I was the universal donor. I was a medic. But this isn't something you get wrong or you just don't remember it. And when you have I think you had 275 medical professionals answer that question, and you have a split that was off by like a hair, that's major. That tells you.
You know, I'd expect, like, what the controls tell me is that I can be, if I see something that it's only like 5% error, then it's like, oh, even the extremely confident people get the controls wrong. So I'd expect a bare minimum of something like 5% to get it right, or 5% to get it wrong just because of memory. That's just for the extremely competent people. The moderately confident people are down at like as low as 60% get it right on the controls. So I don't really trust anything that they say, but the extremely confident people should get it right. Because they get the controls right. And in the bigger study that I did, and these now have like the total effects, I'm putting in like name the bones of the hand and now pick out the correct human skull. And again, I'm asking questions like, are you a medically trained or medical professional? And people are choosing more frequently the old skull that we have. Like your skull now has a couple different bones on the side, and it just doesn't have the exact same shape. There's like a whole new indent that's kind of right where your temple is, that I don't remember learning about. I broke my leg when I was in 3rd grade, and but in that time I had studied all the bones, and I actually knew all the bones in my leg, and I told the doctor them, and I have very distinct, clear memories of learning all the pieces of the sort of skeletal structure of a person. And so when I looked at that, like the new image of my skull, like some deep thinking, terrible feeling of like, oh, that's not my brain, that's not my head, that's not my skull. But I like it is now, but that's certainly not what I learned.
Well, I mean, that was the one thing that came out in that one video that we're talking about, that with the conversation on that 4chan. There's a picture of our skeletal, our chest, our rib.
Yep, I saw it.
I didn't even know that until I watched that video, and I was like, that's fucking wrong.
Okay.
Yeah.
A rib cage is not shaped like that.
That's a funny thing, because I hadn't seen that either, right? But I had a conversation with Ben a few weeks ago. So in this new rib cage, there's this little tag here where the ribs meet, right?
Yep.
And Ben came up, well, I don't even know how the conversation came up, but he said that he didn't have one until he was like, I don't know, in his teens. It sort of popped out in his teens. And his mum used to say, because his mum's a medic, or medically trained, that she used to be concerned because he didn't have this little tag in his rib cage. And I went, what friggin' tag in your rib cage? What are you talking about? And he went, this. And I could feel it on him. And I went, I don't have one of those. What are you talking about? That's not normal. And he went, yes, it is. You're supposed to have one. And I went, since when? Like, I didn't realise this was a Mandela effect. I thought this was just my ignorance on what the rib cage is supposed to look like, and the fact that I don't have one. And I still don't have one.
So, yeah, totally believe that. Another story that I like, I'm more overweight than I'd like to be. And in the old version of your stomach was down by where your waist is. And so, like, men in particular, but men and women that ate too much would like sit there and sort of unbuckle their pants and unbuckle that top button of their jeans, because as their stomach expanded, that's how you could like relieve pressure. But now your stomach is about like 3 or 4 inches higher. So you're not going to see in the movies, or you're never going to see a story again of somebody like unbuttoning their pants to sort of like relax and let that like stomach tension go away from overeating, because your stomach isn't there anymore. Your belt doesn't hit that part of your body. And so as sort of like a more fat guy than I would prefer to be, I certainly have had multiples of those experiences. And then as soon as I saw the stomach and heard that story, I'm like, oh, the whole body has changed. It's changed from what I've remembered.
Can I just ask the people in the chat room, if you feel your rib cage right there where the meat, do you have this little tag? It's a little bone that sticks down.
I do.
You do?
I do. And the first time I noticed it, I was like, what the fuck is that? That's why I'm laughing. As you're talking about this, I'm like,
I don't.
I was going,
Nope.
what the hell?
Nope.
Since when does that appear? Well, it's interesting because here, the whole thing about the rib cage, and I didn't even have this thought until literally about a half an hour, 45 minutes ago. A bit about the change in the rib cage, and I wish I'd screenshot that picture. I will find the picture. Someone please remind me to put it in the article of what our rib cage used to look like, and now what it fucking looks like. Okay, I used to be a singer, and I was properly trained how to breathe when you're singing, to support, and how to do proper side breathing. And I was taught you expand your rib cage sideways. It's you. Most people, when they breathe, only use the upper half of their lungs, so the bottoms of the rib cage never properly expand. We were taught how to take breaths and expand the rib cage even from the sides. And I was trying to explain it to my kids. That was probably about a year ago. And I was like, well, that's not right. And I was like taking these deep breaths and going, why does that, like my ribs aren't, I can remember like you just take this breath and your ribs would go, I mean, our teacher would come up behind us and put the hands on the ribs and go, and now breathe. And if you didn't make his hands go like this to the sides, you weren't doing it right. And I'm like, it's not possible. I'm like, I haven't lost. Can I still sing enough and to be able to maintain that? And, I mean, granted, you know, I'm not obviously properly singing full on, but it's gone. I'm like, how do the opera singers hold their notes and sustain? Like, it's gone. It doesn't work anymore the same way.
Yeah, everything's different. I mean, well, the other crazy part of this is that some people it's not different for at all. So, some people will tell you, I remember it. Some people will tell you, look, when I watched Star Wars, when I was a kid, I remember it this way, but now when you say it this way, I have this new memory. And other people will tell you, no, it's always been that way, or it's always been magic mirror on the wall. Who is the fairest one of all? Which just sounds like, and so there's a population there that remembers it either way. So especially when some people look at you and say, you're totally crazy, it's never been different. There's some population where it didn't change for them. It's like they were in this.
The question that brings up is, are we from different timelines that are merging, or is it simply that some people have adopted a new program and some haven't?
Well,
okay, so can I just jump in here? Because implanted memories and the Jane Goodall conversation that we had in the Unfuckers room, because I went through it and it was a huge stud moment for me. It was the same thing. I read an article. Last week, Nick and I watched a video about Jane Goodall and a chimp. She was releasing a chimp into the wild, and the chimp turned around and hugged her. And Nick and I were like, oh, it's kind of strange, because she's with chimps. Maybe as she's getting older, she's not doing the stuff with the gorillas anymore because they're just too big or whatever. And so she's, kind of scaled down in size. And she's dead, so it must be an old video. And then we read something came up 4 or 5 days ago, and it was like, Jane Goodall's a lineup. And I was like, no, she's not. Jane Goodall was killed years and years ago, and it started this huge conversation. The name that came up was the name of a woman named Diane Fossey. And at first, I thought, okay, well, I must just be confused. I'm not remembering it correctly. It must have been Gorillas in the Mist. It was Diane Fossey, not Jane Goodall. I was okay, well, I'm just confused. No. Because as I kind of walked away from the computer to go do other things, I come back 2 hours later, and the conversation is going in. And there is a shitload of people who are like, who the fuck is Diane Fossey? I've never heard of this person before.
Yep.
And then I sat down and I thought about it, and I thought, it's interesting because when someone said Diane Fossey, typed it in and I read it, my brain registered the name. It registered Diane Fossey. Oh, Diane Fossey. Oh, yeah. oh, okay, that must be what it is. I have no, when I went back and kind of, you go into your own head, I have no memories of this Diane Fossey. I didn't know what she looked like. When I saw, like, you know, when you read the name and you get a mental picture, I saw Sigourney Weaver, who played in Gorillas in the Mist. She played Jane Goodall, not Diane Fossey. I have no recollection. I've gone now and I've watched videos of this supposed Diane Fossey. I have looked at tons of pictures, no recollection, and I have no memory. Whereas Jane Goodall, I have layers of memory of like watching a TV program with my dad waking me up when I was like, I don't know, 10 years old, because a nature program came on about Jane Goodall. I remember my dad coming into my room and going, come on, Cap, this is a really good show and you're going to want to see this. It's all about Jane Goodall and the gorillas. I have this multi-layer of memories of Jane Goodall and the whole, everything that went along, and when she died and how she was killed, et cetera, et cetera. Diane Fossey is a name. That is it. And I think that's
exactly. I'm in exactly the same boat as you. When I heard the name Diane Fossey, the name was familiar, but no face, no story, no nothing. The name was familiar to me. That's it. Jane Goodall is the gorilla chick, as far as I'm concerned. She was murdered by poachers, as far as I'm concerned. There was a funny reference made. Do you remember the George of the Jungle movie with Brendan Fraser? And
I pulled up the video of it.
The big talking gorilla. He makes a joke about Jane Goodall, right? Jane Goodall is the gorilla woman. So this idea that Jane Goodall just went with small chimpanzees and Diane Fossey was the gorilla woman, no, that's not my. No. Never heard of.
For me, I honestly think it was an implanted memory, because the whole Diane Fossey, it was like when I saw the name, I recognized the name, but it was empty. And if someone had just gone into and said, "Does anyone know who Diane Fossey is?" I would have been like, "No, never heard of her."
But see, so for some people, it was Fossey who was murdered, not Goodall, and Goodall is still alive. And Violet,
she's still alive.
In person, she's
on Facebook. Jane Goodall's on Facebook. You can go make friends with her.
So, all of these things have these like weird consequences to what the universe looks like and what we're in. Is this a matrix? Is this a simulation? Or timelines merging? The one thing that's really stuck out to me as probably the weirdest one of all of these is that for the professional astronomy guys, and I'll have people that will say on these quizzes, I'm a NASA engineer, or, you know, I work for SpaceX or something, and they tell you I'm extremely confident we used to be in the Sagittarius arm of the galaxy, and now we're in the thing called the Orion Spur, and those two things are 80,000 light years apart.
Yep.
So however the interpretation of what all this stuff means, it somehow has to account for either we're 80,000 light years from where we were, or the space that we see around us is simulated and it can just be changed at whim. I mean, I don't really know it. I can't tell you at all what the cause of this stuff is, but, you know, simple like, what about time travel? Well, time travel doesn't say anything to me of how you get a whole planet 80,000 light years from where it was. So some of these effects that start ruling out some of like the potential causes, but what is the actual cause is so, that's just weird. How are you supposed to know? Like, you got to figure out a way to go test each one of these hypotheses and see if you can't eliminate them. And for me, it's just looking at what are the new ones that come out. And I guess the other thing I wanted to share was that I think this is a new phenomena. I think it starts for most people in July of 2015, and there's a handful of people, somewhere around 15 to 20%, where they noticed it earlier. But for the vast majority of people, they either didn't notice it or they didn't actually experience it until July of 2015. And that's
the connection wasn't made until July of 2015.
I'd say for D&I, the notice of things not being as remembered or as known probably started in around February of March of 2015, when we started to notice some of the arguments that were happening amongst political leaders about who won what war and who won what island, and historical stuff that they would seem to be arguing over. And we, up until the Mandela effect term came out, I guess, for us, we were of the opinion that they were in the process of trying to rewrite history yet again. Because it
took it as political shenanigans.
Yeah, because we were noticing this historical stuff. So it was like they're rewriting history. It wasn't really until Bernstein's Sex and the City, the current day pop culture stuff hit, that it was like, oh, okay, hang on. It's not just a rewriting of history going on here. It's something else. That all could be actually came down to one guy. Whose blog was it that put out the Bernstein Sex and the City stuff?
Jim Stone put out a really good article that was kind of pulled together, concise, and it was kind of one of the very first ones. Someone with the name. Jim Stone is really, really well known. So he was one of the first kind of bigger name alternative media guys to actually start going, what the fuck? One thing I want to say, though, we're starting to collect pieces of proof. And one of the ones that's come up, so for example, it's like we said, someone has a photograph of something. And they go, I have proof. One of the big ones was, and we talked about this a few weeks ago, change of history. All of a sudden now, in 1916, German agents tried to blow up the Statue of Liberty. And they went so far as the shrapnel from the explosion damaged the statue's arm, so you can no longer, that's why you have not been able to go up to the torch since 1916. And we went nuts in the Unfuckers room, and then we had two different people who brought forward proof. One was someone who's been up to the torch and posted a photo of her taking a photo looking down from the torch, obviously on the top of the head of the Statue of Liberty from the torch, saying, this is proof that I have been on the torch. So you can't tell me the torch has been closed down since 1916 because of shrapnel damage in the arm. There's no way. And someone else posted a picture of a postcard that they'd found that was like his mother's or his grandmother's, talking about how her friends had climbed up to the torch to look at, but she wasn't brave enough, so she just stayed in the head, but her friends had climbed up to the torch. And that was like in the 50s or 60s.
So I still don't know what the cause is. If I had to lean towards any of them, I actually am sort of going to the simulation and feeling like it's almost as if somebody had to go through a Google search to go find every single instance where Statue of Liberty was named and then change it. And then things like art. So like where your heart is, there's tons of art that shows your heart like 2 inches to the left of where it currently is. So like they could Google search everything to go find it and change the ones that you could find by a Google search. But if somehow that term heart wasn't in the art piece file, it didn't get changed. And that's like the closest, I have no idea what's causing it, but that's the closest imagery I can think of. It's like some person manually or with some computer program trying to change things and then not being able to find the things that weren't tagged properly. And so that's like a postcard that is sentimental, but it isn't tagged as Statue of Liberty, doesn't get changed. That's the I don't know. Whole thing is weird. But that's kind of one of my leading thoughts of, all right, maybe simulation has something to it. I mean, simulation could explain an 80,000 light year jump too. That might be something.
Well, see, the simulation thing and the fact that something's changed.
I go back and forth on this so much.
Yeah.
So much on that one. And it's the only thing. Go ahead, Lace.
Oh, there must be a hell of a delay because I was talking ages ago and realised we were talking over each other. So I stopped.
I didn't hear you. We can hear you now.
I'm with Blair on this. This all does feel like a simulation, like a holodeck. and something has definitely changed. The simulation or holodeck that we were in was organic in structure, in nature. It had a consciousness. There was something about it that we were connected to. This is why we don't feel connected to this one. How many of us feel like, I am not in Kansas anymore, this is not my home, I don't sun gaze anymore, there's no grounding, there's no earthing, all those things that connect you to it. No one wants to do that anymore. Or at least those of us who are feeling this
really
way and noticing these Mandela effects the way we are, or the ones of us who are in agreement about a lot of these changes, this does not feel the same. The earth, the sky literally feels closer. The nature just feels somewhat dead compared to what it used to. The earth beneath our feet doesn't feel the same. The sun doesn't feel the same. Nothing feels the same. So if it's whether some of those dreams are giving us a clue that everybody was having, that we've been moved, we now, regardless of whoever was on 4chan trying to take credit for it, bullshit. But whether we've moved ourselves, whether organically it has just shifted and we haven't caught up with it yet, I don't know, but this doesn't feel the same. It's not home. It's not, I mean, to be honest, I never quite felt like this was home. I always sort of felt like I got off on the wrong bus stop. But now this is a copy of a copy. This is
photocopy of a photocopy of a photocopy that it's just gotten worse and worse and worse and less realistic with each copy.
Yes. And this has all happened in the last 2 years. I mean, something for me absolutely did shift at the end of 2012. No, I'm not even going to argue about that. For me.
Yeah.
It was as if I got picked up and put onto a completely different timeline. But in terms of the reality itself feeling incredibly different, that's been more recent. That's been the last 18 to 24 months. And it's almost as if this photocopy of this photocopy is deteriorating.
Because that's what I mean, Lisa. Like every week, they're making another photocopy. And each photocopy is getting worse and worse. And it's where it was like, think about it. 6 months ago, these, like the major Toto effect ones. We're not talking about the change of the name of Target or JCPenney, these little kind of, pop culture. Major ones, they were kind of coming out like once a month. And then it got to be like once every 2 weeks. Then it came out to, now we're to the point where every week for the last 2 months, we've had a major Toto effect that's been discovered. Massive changing of history, like German spies trying to blow up fucking the Statue of Liberty, Japan bombing mainland Canada and the United States during the Second World War. So is this speeding up? Like we talked about the spiral, and each one is like the photocopier is it's running low on ink. So there's just a lot of pixels now missing, and each pixel that's missing is representing like another person who's just gone, no. I don't know.
So can you remember back to when I was, because this is going back February of last year, March of last year, to when I was on this rant about the 100-year cycles, about the Fibonacci spiral.
Yep, I remember it well.
And I can't remember what triggered the Fibonacci thing. I can't even remember what this is part of this effect.
I don't remember.
I can't remember what triggered it. All I remember was the end result, which was this feeling that we were working our way through a Fibonacci spiral from the outside in, and that we were about to hit 0 point, that center point. And I do think that all of these Mandela effects, like you just said, and maybe it has gotten to the point where it's weekly now, because we were talking about how they're constantly trying to get ahead, trying to get in front of something.
Yeah.
that there are these attempts to reset almost weekly now. And it may even get to the point where it's daily soon. And they're not holding. They're not working.
Nope. And each time they got to reset it again and try and, we got to go back, reset it, reset. No, it's reset. We've lost more. Oh, no, fuck.
It might be we might get to the point where we have to have these conversations every day, because once a week is just not going to have enough time to go over everything.
Listen, Lisa, I have been trying to put together a Transpicuous news show for a week. And I go through and I'm gathering links, and I plug the links in because that's how I keep track of them. I plug them right into my blog, into my blog spot. And 3 days later, the ones that they're fucking irrelevant, because the news now has gotten so much. It's like, that's a whole fucking old story. I can't keep up with the news from day to day. It's like I almost need to be doing like a news show every day and go, okay, right, our top 5 news stories for today are this, and this.
Okay, we've actually hit time. So
Yeah,
I need to ask Blair, was there anything you really wanted to get out there about the survey so far? We will post links to the surveys. So
my main ask is to go take some of the other quizzes to go give me some data. If you've answered it before, then try to answer it the exact same way that you did, and like answer it like the way you learned it, not the way that where you learned it initially, not what you figured out because you might have. And to know that, no, I don't think you're crazy. I got like, some of these effects are as many as 90% of the people remember it a way that's different. So
yeah, right.
As you within those quizzes, and then I put together a bunch of videos. Feel free to go comment on those things. Like if you find a new one, like I think, like I did, there's a change to the oath of enlistment for when soldiers join, and I'm like the first person to report on it, which is just, again, so surprising to me. Like, how can I be the first guy to have put something out on that, unless this is either brand new, as in like from July 2015 or onward, or if there's actually more and more changes that are happening. So as you find them, put them on those videos, or put them into like some of the open-ended response questions on the quizzes. Yeah. And please take the quizzes and get people that are skeptical of this to go take them too. Like we need, it's going to take a lot of manpower to figure out what the hell is causing this thing for sure. And we need more people to, I don't want to be the only researcher to have put out anything on this other than like, here's my YouTube commentary. Like, no, go do some research, do a study or something. And hopefully there's another person like me out there that's willing to do the work.
Well, thank you for what you're doing on behalf of everybody. We all very much appreciate it because it needed to be done. Somebody had to do it. And I'm glad it's you. Thank you.